More and more people are building in what is known as the wildland-urban interface, which is where human development occurs within previously undeveloped wildland. Building homes and cabins in a wildland setting creates an environment in which fire can move readily between structural and vegetative fuels, thereby increasing risks associated with a wildfire. The community of Story, Wyoming is a good example of this. The community of Story contains approximately 600 homes across approximately 1,200 acres, with a population of approximately 828. The predominant fuel type consists of a ponderosa pine, shrub, grass mix. There are also scattered aspen and both planted and native spruce, as well as cottonwood, hawthorn, and river birch in the drainage bottoms. Story has not had a large fire since 1996, at which time the Moncrief Fire burned 276 acres. Nearby large fires since then include Little Goose in 2007 and Gilead in 2012. Fire is a natural part of the ecosystem that Story is situated in, and it's not a question of if, but when the next fire event will occur. While there are no guarantees, there are things you can do to lessen the risks of loss to a wildfire. Recommended fire mitigation practices. Ensure the home ignition zone, the area surrounding the home within a 100-foot radius, is maintained in a fire-conscious condition. That is to say that the home ignition zone is maintained so that your home and outbuildings have a greater chance of surviving a wildfire should one occur, and that firefighters would be able to safely employ defensive tactics. The ultimate goal of fuels mitigation and creating defensible space is that your home would survive a wildfire even if firefighters were unable to fight the fire. The idea is not to clear-cut all of the vegetation on your property, but rather to maintain forest health and the aesthetic qualities that you enjoy while mitigating wildfire spread potential, intensity, and behavior. Maintenance will be an ongoing activity, so remember to assess your HIZ and beyond at least once annually with regard to structure condition and vegetative regrowth. Keep the following general defensible space practices in mind. Both type and quantity of fuel are important considerations. Ground fuels consist of the flammable materials on the forest floor. The amount and continuity of ground fuels will influence the direction and rate at which a fire will spread. Ladder fuels are those above the forest floor, such as shrubbery, vegetation, young trees, or even tree limbs. These fuels provide a pathway for a fire burning on the ground to move into the crowns of the trees. If fire was to move into the crowns of trees, the amount of canopy closure will help determine fire behavior and intensity. If the trees are in close contact, a fire may burn in the treetops without ever touching the ground, resulting in a fire that is extremely difficult to suppress or contain. Here are a few simple things you can do to help improve the chances of your home surviving a wildfire. 1. Remove all dead vegetation, including trees, pine cones, needles, leaves, and woody debris, including wood construction materials, within 30 feet of cabin structures. 2. Create and maintain a 5 to 10 foot swath free of flammable litter around the foundation. A gravel apron around the foundation will help to mitigate ember ignition and surface fire flame impingement. Gravel must be kept clean of vegetative growth, pine needles, leaves, and other flammable debris to be effective. Stone, rock, cement, or other non-combustible material could also be used. 3. Keep grass and other ground vegetation mowed down low to the ground and irrigate regularly. 4. During fire season, combustible materials should be stored inside flame-resistant structures and should be stored beyond 30 feet from any combustible buildings when not in use. Vehicles should be parked outside of this zone as well, as they are also considered a fuel source. Gasoline cans and portable propane tanks should never be stored indoors and should be located at least 30 feet away from the home and away from possible sources of ignition. Remove any items near the cabin walls, such as seat cushions, brooms, jute, doormats, rugs, firewood, kindling, etc., and store inside buildings or some other enclosed space when not in use. 5. Windborne embers are responsible for igniting many structures. Many times, the flame front never even reaches a cabin, but the embers land on or under the structure and cause it to ignite. The embers can easily pass through vents or other openings and burn the structure from the inside out. Use metal mesh screen to cover exposed vents, such as in the soffit, foundation, crawl space, etc., and also underneath ground level decks and steps in order to repel embers. Make sure your chimney is screened with mesh or has a metal spark arrestor cap. Double pane windows and metal screens are also a good idea. 6. Remove pine needles and other debris that can burn from your roof, gutters, under and on decks and porches, and along fence lines to reduce embers from landing on an ignition source. 7. Prune tree limbs on large mature trees where safe and feasible to approximately 7 to 10 feet, higher where necessary. Prune and limb overhanging branches within 15 feet of the fireplace. Branches within 15 feet of the roof and cabin walls should be pruned back as well. 8. Vegetation that allows fire to burn from ground level and climbing into surrounding higher fuels such as tree branches are called ladder fuels. Remove ladder fuels or prune nearby tree branches to a height 3 times that of the ladder fuel. For example, a mature pine with a 4-foot tall shrub growing under it should have the lower branches pruned to a height of 12 feet. Preferably, remove all shrubs or trees growing under the drip line of any mature trees. 9. Create distance between shrubs at least 2 times the height of the plants on level ground in order to break up fuel continuity. For example, 2-foot-high plants should be at least 4 feet apart on level ground. Distance is measured between shrub crown, not trunks. Increase the distance on slopes. And 10. Install prominently displayed reflectorized fire numbers and street name signs to aid emergency responders while attempting to locate your property. By mitigating fuels and creating defensible space, you give your home a much better chance for surviving a wildfire.